Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Stay Wise. In today's video, we're going to take a look at 10 most shocking kids' toys ever. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. Alright then, let's dive in. At number 10, we have Pole Dancing Barbie. The Barbie dolls were absolutely iconic when they were released. It was the perfect gift for girls. There were many variants and all were sold well. Even the Barbie movies were popular among kids. Kids even looked up to these dolls as role models. We had Dr. Barbie, Lawyer Barbie, Pop Star Barbie, and many more to inspire children. But there was one particular model which we're pretty sure shouldn't have been an inspiration for the kids. It's Pole Dancing Barbie. We aren't sure how this got sanctioned and came out of the factory to the stores. This Pole Dancing Barbie was released in the United Kingdom in 2009. It was soon pulled back and recalled though. Number 9 is Snack Time Cabbage Patch Doll. Toy doll makers are always trying to make dolls that get as real as possible. There were dolls that could even pee. But Mattel took it to the next level with its Snack Time Cabbage Patch Doll, and this doll could eat. This was a must-have toy at its time and even started department store fights. The toy came with plastic foods that can be used to feed the doll, but its mechanical jaws were too powerful, and it pulled in anything that came close to it, including the fingers and hair out of unlucky children. The Snack Time's mechanism was a one-way battery-powered roller with no off switch. It was supposed to be activated by the plastic snacks, but the toy didn't know the difference between its food and fingers. This resulted in many complaints and injuries, and Mattel offered a cash refund of $40. However, the company still tried to sell these by putting a warning sign in front, but the CPSC ultimately made the company recall the dolls. Number 8 is Harry Potter's Vibrating Broom. This supposedly kids' toy doesn't seem to have a problem at first sight. The problems arose when batteries were inserted. This toy had a vibrating feature, and it turns out that it could be used as a sex toy rather than a kid's toy. We guess this was a strategy to capture the attention of some of the older Harry Potter fans. This was modeled after Harry's first broom. This battery-operated Nimbus 2000 featured a grooved stick and handle for kids who wished to ride it around the house. But apparently it was used for more than just riding around the house. There were many comments on Amazon which have since been deleted. One comment read, "I'm 32 and enjoy riding the broom as much as my 12-year-old and 7-year-old with a wink." At number 7, we have Marvel Toy Biz 1999 Punisher Shapeshifter. Marvel Toy Biz released the Deluxe Shapeshifter set, which featured Iron Man, Wolverine, Juggernaut, Lizard, and many others in 1998. They released the Punisher in the following year. This was a pretty cool action figure, and it can transform from an action figure to a power pistol. However, parents realized that in the gun mode, the Punisher's cannon looks like it came from his butt. And of course, kids figured out that when they positioned the pistol in a certain way, they had a crotch rocket. Just one question to Marvel: why? Since it was targeted at children, parents deemed the toy as too inappropriate. This caused the product to be pulled out from stores. Number 6 is Breastfeeding Baby. Like we said earlier, manufacturers are trying their best to make dolls as real as possible. They close their eyes, talk, eat, and even pee. The Spanish company Burwan decided to take this to the next level with Beep Gloton. This was a breastfeeding doll. Yeah, you heard that right. Parents weren't too fond of this doll for obvious reasons, of course. This was intended for girls aging from 8 to 10. This doll came with a halter top like a bra that girls were able to put on and pretend to nurse the doll with. The manufacturers didn't leave any detail and even added flower-like nipples, which made a loud sucking sound. However, many parents supported the company and felt that this would be helpful in educating the kids about breastfeeding. But most parents were grossed out by a toy which allowed girls to mimic nursing before they're old enough to understand it. At number 5, we have Disney Tarzan Rad Repeatin' Doll. This inappropriate doll was released in 1999 by Mattel. It had 2 features: making a jungle call sound and moving his arm up and down. It was supposed to make a karate chop action, but when Tarzan's arm was moved to a lower position, it looked like he was doing something else. In its original packaging, Tarzan looked as innocent as ever though. Mattel's argument was that kids and adults looked at it in a different way, and that kids were too innocent to see it in some other way. However, the company changed the doll's packaging and made sure that its arms couldn't drop below the waist. Number 4 is Sky Dancers Flying Dolls. Flying fairy dolls once had wing-covered arms and a base launcher. It was the perfect idea at first. The kids just had to pull the cord and the doll would fly. Soon everyone realized that it was very dangerous, especially for the children. It often launched itself right into the kids, causing reports of broken teeth, serious cuts, eye injuries, mild concussions, a broken rib, and even lacerations in the face that required stitches. Taking the injuries into consideration, Galoob Toys Inc. recalled the toy in 2000. At number 3, we have a CSI Fingerprint Examination Kit. This toy was based on the CBS hit crime show CSI Crime Scene. We all would have loved to play as detectives and investigators at a young age. We could say that this toy brought our dream to life. This allowed children to look for fingerprints by providing them with special brushes and powder to look for fingerprints. But the Asbestos Disease Awareness Organization conducted tests in 2007 which showed the white fingerprint powder contained tremolite, which is one of the deadliest types of asbestos. The powder turned out to contain up to 5% asbestos. But the toy makers, CBS Consumer Products, did not recall the product and decided to leave it on the shelves. The toy was deemed hazardous. The Asbestos Disease Awareness Organization filed a civil action to stop the sales of this, and the case was only settled in 2009 when the toys were finally recalled. Number 2 is Magnetics Magnet Building Set. This was a very popular toy during the mid-2000s. The Magnetics building sets featured plastic pieces that could break open and spiraled powerful, small magnets that were easily swallowed by kids. There were many reports about the tiny magnets falling out from plastic pieces. These weren't like other small objects swallowed by kids. The magnets didn't pass through the digestive system. Instead, they connected with each other through tissue walls and sometimes formed large masses that twist intestines and cut off blood supply to vital organs. This also caused gastrointestinal damage and infections. This resulted in painful death just within hours. 22-month-old Kenny Sweet died after 9 tiny magnets reattached inside his bowels in 2005. The toy was reported to cause 1 aspiration. 34 or more children had intestinal injuries and 1 death in children. Even after Kenny Sweet's death, 3 million magnetic sets sat on the store shelves for 4 months. Because of the massive outrage and complaints from parents, Magnetics Magnet Building Set was finally recalled by the manufacturer in 2006. However, even after the recall in 2006, the Consumer Product Safety Commission still received several reports of serious injuries from the Magnetics Magnet set. So, an expanded recall of the toy was announced in 2007. Finally, number 1 brings us to Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab. If you thought that the above toys were ridiculous, wait till you hear this. You'd think that a person in his full senses would never include harmful substances in a kid's toy, right? But the makers of the Gilbert Atomic Energy Lab decided to include actual uranium with its toy. Yeah, you heard it right. They decided to include a highly radioactive element that is used to power atomic bombs with a kid's toy. The set included 4 jars of uranium and a pre-formatted order form for more. The toy set was described as the most elaborate atomic energy educational set ever produced. Other than uranium, the set included a beta, gamma, and beta-alpha radiation sources. It also contains a spinthariscope, which is used to watch atoms decay, a cloud chamber, a Geiger counter, and an electroscope. Fortunately, it only sold less than 5,000 kits.